At what point does the brand step in and go, right, we're opening a lawsuit against you because of you've said that this brand fits this car and we're pricing it differently? Like, at what point does that happen? We don't know.
Matt Armstrong rebuilt some of the world's most destroyed supercars and made millions watch him do it. Lamborghinis reduced to skeletons. Ferraris pulled back from the edge. Machines worth more than houses reborn in a workshop, bolt by bolt, with no help from the brands that built them. But here's the question. How long can an industry ignore the person rebuilding its reputation in plain sight? And for years, those same brands said nothing. No recognition, no credit, not even a single word. Until the morning a box arrived at his workshop from a company he had never even touched, Koenigsegg. And inside it was proof that someone, somewhere in the hypercar world, had finally been paying attention. But the real shock wasn't the package. It was what it meant for every supercar brand that thought they were still in control. The silence that built the story. To understand why that box from Sweden mattered so much, you have to understand the silence that came before it. Because the silence was deafening, and Matt Armstrong had been living inside it for years. Consider the Lamborghini Reventon. Only 21 were ever made. It was a million-pound hypercar based on the Murcielago platform, built in 2007 as a limited edition showcase of Lamborghini's most extreme design language.
Lamborghini, that's right, a luxury Lamborghini, allegedly driven by the son of a prominent tobacco trader here, rammed into pedestrians and two-wheelers on the VIP road in Kanpur's upscale Kualtoli area.
When one of those 21 cars ended up crashed and written off, Matt acquired it and began a full restoration on camera. The parts alone cost a fortune. Every component had to be sourced through Lamborghini's official supply chain because there is no aftermarket for a car this rare. The engineering content he produced during that build was extraordinary. Detailed breakdowns of carbon fiber monocoque construction, the V12 drivetrain architecture, the electrical systems that Lamborghini dealers themselves rarely see exposed in this level of detail. Millions of people watched. The attention it brought to Lamborghini's engineering was enormous, far more than any magazine advertisement or press event could have generated. Lamborghini's response was nothing, not indifference dressed up as something else. Actually, nothing. No contact, no acknowledgement, no official comment. Just silence from a brand that was simultaneously spending millions on traditional marketing campaigns that reached a fraction of the audience Matt was delivering for free. The same pattern played out with Ferrari. Matt had been deep in a rebuild of a Ferrari 296 GTB, the brand's plug-in hybrid sports car that represented the future of their entire product lineup. He was using genuine OEM components sourced at enormous cost, filming every step for an audience of over 5 million subscribers who were watching Ferrari's engineering being explained and celebrated in a way that the company's own communications never attempted. The 296 GTB is a technically complex machine, combining a twin-turbo V6 with an electric motor and a sophisticated energy recovery system. Matt was explaining all of it, demystifying the hybrid architecture, showing his audience exactly how Ferrari integrates combustion and electric power in a way that Ferrari's own press materials barely touch. Ferrari's response was identical to Lamborghini's. Silence. Now, this was not unusual in the broader context of how Italian supercar brands operate. Ferrari and Lamborghini have historically treated their image like a vault. Access is controlled. Messaging is controlled. Approved journalists get invited to press launches at manicured circuits in Southern Europe, where they drive pre-prepared cars on pre-selected routes and write pre-approved superlatives. The cars exist inside a carefully curated world of controlled narratives and gate-kept access. Independent creators, especially ones who buy crashed cars and rebuild them in workshops that do not look like showrooms, do not fit inside that world. They are not part of the plan. And when you are not part of the plan, you do not exist. It does not matter how many millions of people are watching. It does not matter how much money you have spent on their parts. If you are not operating within their approved framework, you are invisible. But then, the Bugatti situation happened. And suddenly, the silence from the Italian brands did not just feel cold, it felt like a statement. The Bugatti. Bugatti has long operated with a level of exclusivity that borders on hostile. They are famously protective of who can own their cars, who can service them, and who gets anywhere near their engineering. There are well-documented cases of Bugatti exercising what is known as a right of first refusal, a contractual clause that means if an owner wants to sell their car, Bugatti can step in and effectively block buyers they consider unworthy of the brand. It is the automotive equivalent of a private members club that decides who gets in based on criteria they never fully publish. The drama that unfolded publicly involved a prominent content creator, someone with a massive audience and genuine passion for the car, being pushed out of the picture entirely. The specific details vary depending on where you read them, but the core message was consistent and unmistakable. Certain legacy brands view independent creators and rebuilders not as ambassadors, but as threats. Threats to the carefully constructed image. Threats to the narrative that says, these cars exist only in a rarefied world of approved owners and sanitized press coverage. Threats to the idea that understanding and appreciating a machine should be gate-kept by the people who built it. This attitude is not unique to Bugatti. It runs through the entire upper tier of the automotive luxury market, like a cultural operating system. Ferrari famously sued deadmau5 for wrapping his 458 Italia in a custom Nyan Cat livery, arguing that the modification damaged their brand image. They have sent cease and desist letters to owners who have customized their cars in ways that Ferrari's internal brand guidelines do not approve of. The message from these companies is consistent. You may have paid for the car, but you do not own the brand. We decide how our products are seen, and if you deviate from that vision, we will correct you. For Matt Armstrong, this was not abstract. He had been living a quieter version of this story for years. He was not being actively blocked or shut out the way the Bugatti situation suggested. He was just being ignored. And in some ways, that is worse, because at least when a brand pushes you out, they are acknowledging that you exist, acknowledging that you matter enough to be considered a problem. When they ignore you entirely, when they take the millions of views and the genuine celebration of their engineering and the hundreds of thousands of pounds spent on their parts and respond with nothing, the message is even clearer. You are beneath our attention. You are not worth the time it would take to send an email. Think about that from Matt's perspective. He is a man who has spent real money, real time, and real skill keeping these brands in the conversation among an audience of millions. He has shown their engineering to people who would never set foot in a dealership, people who will never be invited to a press launch, people who form their opinions about these brands entirely through content like his. And the brands themselves have never once acknowledged that he exists. That is the silence he was sitting inside when the box from Sweden arrived. That was the atmosphere when the box from Koenigsegg arrived. And that is why it landed the way it did. Because it was not just a package, it was a signal. And the signal said, "Built to be understood." What Koenigsegg did was not random. There is a very deliberate philosophy behind how this company operates. And once you understand it, the package makes complete sense. Christian von Koenigsegg founded his company in 1994, with no inherited automotive empire, no significant financial backing, and no formal engineering degree. He was 22 years old, and he decided he wanted to build the fastest car in the world. What he created over the following 3 decades was not just a hypercar company, it was one of the most genuinely innovative engineering organizations on the planet. Koenigsegg developed the free-valve engine, a technology that eliminates the traditional camshaft entirely and replaces it with pneumatic actuators that control each valve independently, allowing the engine to optimize its performance on every single combustion cycle. They created the Jesko Absolute, a car theoretically capable of reaching 330 miles per hour. They invented the light-speed transmission, which shifts gears faster than any other gearbox in existence, using multiple wet clutches and no traditional synchromesh, achieving gear changes in virtually 0 time. This is not a brand that runs on legacy and reputation alone. They are obsessed with engineering, and Christian von Koenigsegg himself is famous for being unusually open about it. He does long-form interviews. He explains his technology in granular detail. He gets visibly excited, talking about tolerances and thermodynamics in a way that most luxury brand CEOs would consider undignified. In 2019, he sat down with a small YouTube channel called The Car Guy and spent over an hour walking through the physics of the Jesko's aerodynamic package, explaining downforce coefficients and air channel routing with the enthusiasm of a man who genuinely cannot believe he gets to do this for a living. Ferrari's leadership would never sit in front of a camera and walk a viewer through the thermal management of their hybrid system. Koenigsegg's leadership does it enthusiastically, because they genuinely believe that understanding how something works makes you appreciate it more, not less. Their own factory employees post content showing the manufacturing process, the carbon fiber layup, the hand assembly of each engine, the testing protocols. They document the process of building a hypercar with a transparency that makes traditional luxury brands visibly uncomfortable. And this is not accidental, it is philosophical. Christian von Koenigsegg has said publicly that he wants people to understand his cars, not just desire them. He wants the engineering to be the attraction, not the exclusivity. That is a fundamentally different worldview from the Italian approach, where mystery is the product and understanding is the enemy of aspiration. When you apply that lens to Matt Armstrong's channel, the connection becomes obvious. Matt does not make videos about how fast a car feels or how luxurious the leather smells. He gets underneath it. He explains how the gearbox is engineered, how the carbon tub is constructed. He shows the failures, the corroded bolts, the wiring nightmares, the moments where a rebuild stalls, because a single sensor cannot be sourced. His content is honest in a way that manufacturer-approved press coverage never is. Because he is not selling the dream, he is showing the reality. And that reality, the grease and the frustration and the genuine problem-solving, is what makes his audience trust him. His subscribers, over 5 million at the time the package arrived, are not casual viewers looking for supercar eye candy. They are people who want to understand how machines work. They are engineers, mechanics, students, and enthusiasts who watch his videos because they learn something real every time. That is exactly the audience Koenigsegg wants. And the note inside the box, asking Matt to watch specific videos, almost certainly their own engineering breakdowns and manufacturing process footage confirms it. They were not pitching him a car. They were not offering a sponsorship deal. They were showing him what they are made of and inviting him to be curious. It was one engineer speaking to another, even if only one of them uses that title officially. That is a fundamentally different kind of outreach. Lamborghini and Ferrari have combined annual revenues in the billions. They have marketing budgets that dwarf Koenigsegg's entire annual turnover.
$650,000, which is under their list price. However, here's the new 12-cylinder, so 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12, 830 horsepower. It's over list. This one's brand new, $900,000.
Ferrari alone spent over 700 million euros on selling, general, and administrative expenses in a single recent fiscal year. Their marketing infrastructure includes global press fleets, dedicated media centers, approved photographer lists, and invitation-only launch events at circuits in Fiorano and Maranello. They have entire departments whose job is to control how the brand is perceived. And yet, it was Koenigsegg, a company that employs around 500 people, builds somewhere between 20 and 35 cars per year, and operates out of a converted military hangar in rural Sweden that made the smartest move in automotive creator relations this year. Consider what Koenigsegg actually spent. A few hoodies, a couple of t-shirts, a handwritten note. The total cost of that package was probably under £100, and in return, they generated thousands of hours of community discussion, millions of social media impressions, and genuine brand curiosity among an audience of over 5 million highly engaged automotive enthusiasts. No marketing agency on earth delivers that kind of return on investment. For context, Toyota produces the same number of cars Koenigsegg builds in a year, roughly every few seconds. And yet, Koenigsegg is the one dominating the conversation in enthusiast communities right now. Not because they spent more money, but because they understood something that the bigger brands still have not figured out. The generation that is currently forming its automotive opinions, the people who will be buying supercars and hypercars in 10 or 15 years, is not reading glossy car magazines. They are not attending press launches in Tuscany.
I bought a non-running, crash-damaged Lamborghini SVJ Roadster.
They are watching Matt Armstrong rebuild a Lamborghini in a workshop in the north of England. And the brand that shows up in that world, the brand that demonstrates it, understands and respects what that creator is doing, is the brand that wins their loyalty for the next 3 decades. Koenigsegg understood that. Ferrari and Lamborghini, as of right now, do not. The Italian supercar brands protect mystery. They guard their image. They control who gets access and who does not. Koenigsegg celebrates transparency. Their own engineers post tear-down videos. Christian von Koenigsegg sits in front of cameras and explains in precise detail how their technology works. They are not afraid of being understood. They actively want it. And that cultural difference between brands that build walls around their image and a brand that opens its doors is exactly why Koenigsegg made the move that Lamborghini and Ferrari never did. The Italian brands looked at Matt Armstrong and saw a man in a workshop rebuilding their crashed cars without permission. Koenigsegg looked at the same man and saw a kindred spirit, someone who cares about how things work, someone who respects engineering enough to spend his own money celebrating it, someone worth reaching out to. And so the box sits. Not as a conclusion, but as a signal. Because in the world of engineering, reputation, and quiet observation, nothing like this happens by accident. Every gesture is calculated. Every silence has weight. And every invitation, spoken or unspoken, opens a door that cannot easily be closed again. Matt Armstrong didn't chase attention. He built something undeniable and let the work speak into the void until, eventually, the void answered back. Not from where anyone expected. Not from the brands he rebuilt, but from somewhere watching, waiting, measuring. And now, the question shifts. Because this was never just about a package from Sweden. It's about what happens when recognition finally arrives, not from the industry you served, but from the one you never saw coming. So when the next door opens, and the next decision is made, will this be remembered as a simple moment of acknowledgement, or the beginning of something the entire supercar world didn't see coming?